You know, are there really that many songs about rainbows? I mean, seriously, off the top of your head, can you honestly name me 5? The only ones I can think of are Somewhere Over the Rainbow and the song complaining about how apparently there's an overabundance of songs about rainbows. So, really, what are you complaining about, you stupid frog? And who cares if there's an overabundance of songs about rainbows? If it's what people want, it's what they want. Who are you to complain? Anyway, hello everyone and welcome back to Strange Wonders. As always, I'm your host, Mr.G. Today, we're delving into the marvelous world of frogs and toads and talking about some of the strangest members of their groups. I hope you're ready because... Actually, I don't get why you have to be ready. Let's just get into this. Let's start our discussion by talking about the world's largest frog. And, by world's largest frog, it can fit into 2 palms instead of just 1. Yeah, as I think I mentioned in my giant salamander video, amphibians don't really get that big. Sad too, because during the Cretaceous period, there were amphibians that could hunt dinosaurs, but nowadays, no, amphibians are the lamest when it comes to their largest. I mean, look at the largest of other groups. I mean, the largest mammal's the biggest animal that ever lived. The largest bird is bigger than a person. The largest reptile is a giant thing with teeth that can tear to shreds. The biggest fish has the word whale in its name. But the largest amphibian is just a salamander. Not even really that big compared to a human, but whatever. Anyway, the Goliath bullfrog. It's the biggest frog. Good for it. Next we got the paradox frog, so named for the fact that when it grows up, it actually shrinks. You see, its young are the largest tadpoles of any amphibian, but as you can see by this picture, when they grow up, they're only half that size. So yeah, there's a good reason why they're called paradox frogs. Next we got the crab-eating frogs, notable for being one of the few amphibians able to tolerate saltwater environments. Also, like pretty much every other animal with the word crab-eating in its name, it doesn't really eat crabs all that much. Why do they keep giving crab-eating names to these things if they don't eat crabs? Whatever. Some frogs and toads have even managed to find ways to adapt to harsh desert environments. They're able to do this thanks to the fact that because they bury themselves in the sand during the day, they don't lose all that much moisture, and therefore allowing them to keep moist and therefore alive. Next we got tree frogs, so named because they like to spend most of their time in the trees. In fact, some of them are actually pretty poor swimmers despite being frogs. So yeah, that's interesting. Next we got... Oh no, why do I have to talk about this thing? Why do I have to talk about this thing? Oh boy. Okay, here we go. Okay, you can do this. You can talk about this thing. Okay, let's do this. This is the Suriname toad. And yeah, it looks a bit strange. It looks kind of like a leaf. But that's not what this thing is most famous for. The Suriname toad is most famous for its unique breeding style. Basically, instead of just laying clusters of eggs and then leaving, the female will lay the eggs where they get fertilized, but then the male will then press the eggs onto... You can do this. Will then press the eggs onto the female's back where they sink into her skin, and then skin grows around the eggs so they don't get exposed to the elements. And then the tadpoles hatch in the pockets, and they stay there till they metamorphosize into their frog forms, and then they burst out of the pockets like pimples out of their mother's back. I hate these things so much. Why would nature do something like this? You know, I could talk about parasites all day long. I could talk about animals that do crazy stuff to their food. But I don't know why, but these things are where I draw the line. I don't even have trypophobia, but the idea of a bunch of creatures bursting out of back pimples, that is just, Yeah, no, I'm done. Let's just move on to the cards before I break something. Our first couple of cards come from Nightmares of Nature. By the way, I'm not including every frog and toad since I do have plans for other videos, so just wait for those. Anyway, our first card comes from Nightmares of Nature, and it's Budget's Frog. I can't find anything wrong here, so 10 out of 10, I guess. Next we got the Goliath Bullfrog. Again, I can't really find anything wrong here, but I find its opening statement pretty funny. It says it's heavier than a house cat, but like... Clearly these guys have never seen my black cat. That guy is a chunk. But I'm not deducting points for that, so 10 out of 10. Next, moving on to Strange Wonders, we got the Malaysian horned toad. Okay, problem number 1. It calls it a toad, but every single source I've ever seen has called these things frogs. So either these things used to be classified as toads, they called it a toad for some reason, or... Okay, that's the only 2 things I can come up with. Another issue is the species name that they picked. There are more than one species of Malaysian horned toads, and if they had just used the genus name, then most of the stuff would be correct. But the fact that they chose that species name specifically means the Malaysian part of its name is inaccurate, since that specific species they chose only lives in Indonesia, not Malaysia. And that also makes its habitat incorrect, since it says it lives throughout Southeast Asia, but as I just said, this specific species only lives in Indonesia. So yeah, they should have just used the genus name. But because they didn't, it means that the Malaysian and the toad part are both inaccurate. I'm confused how many points to deduct here, so I'm just going to give it an 8 out of 10 for simplicity. Alright, next up we have the African bullfrog, and quick question. Why is the African bullfrog in Strange Wonders, but the Goliath bullfrog was considered a nightmare of nature? Like, why? What exactly distinguishes these two that makes one a horrific nightmare, but the other's a wonderfully strange creature? If it were up to me, I think I'd swap African bullfrog and the Budget's frog. Because, let's be real, the Budget's frog seems like it'd fit much better here, since it looks strange, while the African bullfrog, I can't really think anything strange about it. Unfortunately, since there's nothing objectively wrong with this placement, I can't deduct a point for that. What I can deduct a point for, though, is that just like the bull shark, it brings up an incident that I cannot find any source for. It claims there was once an incident where, in a zoo, one of these guys escaped and ate a nest of baby cobras. I've looked, but I cannot find what they're supposed to be referring to here. It's probably a local news story or something that they decided to put onto this card and hope that no one would ever research into this or something. I don't know. If anyone can find the incident they're referring to, please help me. I looked through like 5 pages of Google and couldn't find jack. Next we got the Paradox Frog. Nothing wrong here. I like how they made it in the middle of a metamorphosization. I don't see too much art of that, and I like that a lot. 10 out of 10. Next up we got... Anyway, next up we got the ornate horned frog, and I'm like, really? Of all the strange frogs you could have picked, you picked this thing? Like, you could have picked the crab-eating frog, or some sort of frog or toad that lives in the desert somewhere, but no, you picked this thing. Way to go out on a high note. But I have to give it a 10 out of 10. Can't really think of any human relations for these guys. People don't really care about frogs that much. They just kind of see them all as one species that's just a green frog that sits on a leaf going ribbit ribbit. I'm sure some of these guys can be found in captivity somewhere. Yeah. People don't really care about amphibians, do they? I've just now realized that. Well, that's all for this episode of Strange Wonders. Join us next time when we do something else. Goodbye. Meanwhile... Welcome back to TNBC Radio, the radio station where we only play songs from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Nice. Oh, come on, we've been listening to this radio station for the past 17 hours. Oh, shut up, I like it. It's funny hearing you suffer. You know, I've heard legends about you. Can't this truck go at the speed of light? It could, but I like hearing you complain about stuff. Ugh, how much longer till we get to New York? Oh, I'd say about 2 more days. This is taking forever. Why did I ever get involved in this? Oh, wait, I did it! I got kidnapped against my will! Oh, shut up. Oh, I think I need a new job.